watching Gearz, brought to you by Holly Performance Products. Fuel your passion. And Cornwell Tools, the choice of professionals.
Hey, welcome to Gearz. Today we're going to start by heading out on the road and seeing what one of you guys are working on. Maybe help out a little bit. But instead of carrying a bunch of extra parts with us like we normally do, today we're taking a little different approach. Check it out.
All across America, in thousands of garages, carports, and backyards, there sits a project that has become hindered, stalled, or halted by the lack of time, money, or expertise by the owner. Sometimes the project is so lopsided that the owner just needs to sell it and start over. Other times, all it needs is a kickstart to get it moving in the right direction again. That's where we come in. Gearz on the Road is brought to you by LMC Truck. Keep 'em on the road.
Today's gearhead is Roger Tippett and his son Chaz, who are both car nuts through and through, even though they may not always agree on what cars are cool. Are you mostly a Chevy guy, or does it matter?
No, I'm mostly a Chevrolet person.
Why is that?
My dad was, you know, so growing up, you know the firing order 1843657 on a Ford, I couldn't tell you. Yeah. I know how to work on them, I guess, so it makes it easier. Yeah. Now I have a couple Fords, but they have Chevy engines in them, so they continue to run. You're
more of an import guy. Did you get raised on the Fast and Furious movies?
Pretty much, yeah. I started with Subarus. That was my main thing at first. Was
because of those movies?
Somewhat, yeah. Really, the Need for Speed games and stuff on the old Xbox was what it was.
Okay.
That got me.
So if you could have any car that you wanted, what would it be?
Porsche 918.
Why?
They're just, it's a spin-off from the Carrera GT.
Yeah.
And I love the way they look.
So the first thing we did was check out the shop, and space is definitely a premium here.
I used to collect bicycles too. I'm down to just a couple.
What bike is, because it's got the Springer front end.
I don't know, I just found it at a sale and had to have it.
See, I love these old banana seat bikes. the crate bikes, you know, with the 5-speed.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't touch those now.
Some kid must have had it too. It has a Finding Nemo mirror on there.
Oh, yeah.
It's.
And the purple seat.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, Roger has plenty of experience working on cars, and he's got an abundance of trophies to show that he's doing things right. He didn't like go to your yard sale and bought trophies.
No, either me, my daughter, or my son.
Very cool.
So.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So it wasn't surprising to find plenty of cool parts laying around, some of them begging to come home with me. So you ever gonna have a yard sale?
No.
What are these valve covers I'm seeing here? Those are big blocks.
Big block, yeah. You never know what you might need them for.
What is that?
A little, you can pull it out of there.
Let's see what we got here. Oh, those are Edelbrocks.
Yeah.
I don't think they make those anymore.
I don't know.
They don't make those anymore. That's a nice valve cover. What did surprise me was the variety of projects that Roger has. Most guys tend to stick with one thing, not Roger. From a big former fire truck. Now, where did you find that?
It was in Gallatin. Yeah, it's all the way down to, still has, I think it even has like markings on the, yeah, it still has all the writing on the fire, original red.
Wow.
Firewall. That's
cool. I like that truck. So when are you going to get to this one? This one comes after the Suburban, right?
Yeah, they don't cost anything to sit there.
To a chopped 50s Merc.
A 1951 Mercury that my father-in-law actually bought brand new. But he called and said, hey, do you want my 51 Mercury? It's in the barn in Alabama. The barn's falling down. I said, you don't have a 51 Mercury. It's my dream car.
Yeah.
No, I have one. So I drove to Alabama with the car trailer and brought it home.
There it is. Now, you did all the work on it. You chopped the top?
I did. It was an original 4-door. And the doors are a little longer, 6 inches longer on a 2-door, so I was able to source some doors, move the post back, welded it up.
Boy, you did a lot of work on this.
Chopped it, didn't know what I was doing, but my father-in-law wanted me to restore it back to original. I said, I'm not putting the money into a 4-door car that's going to look terrible.
Yeah.
So one night he said, you're not going to touch it, right? I said, nope. He goes, do what you want. So I went and knocked the windows out of it and took a Sawzall. No turning back after that.
To motorcycles, that belonged to your brother.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So
tell me about this one.
That just sits there. It's parts or something.
It doesn't run?
Yeah.
Just parts for?
I don't know. I might put it in a go-kart or something. I was thinking golf cart, because they make a Harley golf cart. I was thinking about putting the D-twin in there.
Yeah. To a 40 Chevy Coupe, there was a lot going on here. However, the real reason we were there was to check out the 65 Chevy Suburban that Roger was in the process of cutting up and turning into a cool cruiser.
It's going to be a driver. You know, I'm of course going to have power everything and air conditioning, so it's going to be a cruiser. I figure a family car, me and the wife will go to the drive-in, you know, or whatever.
Throw the dog in.
Yeah.
Hoping to do a nice blend of original and custom, Roger's keeping the body pretty much stock, and he even scrounged up some original seat frames to give the interior a vintage vibe when it's done. Are these the original seats?
Those are the original seats I was able to source that someone put a custom interior in their truck, and I got lucky and found all 3 of them. So
That is so cool.
It's a 3-seater. Yeah, they're in really good shape. I like them because, you know, even the engineering back then, because it only has the 2 doors, that allows you to get back.
The stance, of course, is an entirely different matter because both Roger and Chaz like them low. And since Chaz is supplying some of the free manual labor on this project, there's no question this truck is going to be down on the ground when it's done. Where's your operating distance, you think?
Somewhere around 3 inches off the ground.
3 inches off the ground, we'll be cruising.
Sure.
Okay. Sure. Well, you don't have far to go to lay the frame if you're only 3 inches off the ground.
But yeah.
Chaz, what do you think? Do you like low or do you like higher?
I'm glad he's going back to something lower because his last project was 4-wheel drive.
Okay, so that was the lifted truck.
Yeah.
12 inches of lift. Yeah, this is a completely different direction. Do you like him to lay frame? You into that slammed look or?
Yeah, except when it's dragging and then tearing stuff apart.
For power, Roger's not looking to blow people's doors off. Just have something around 350 to 400 horsepower to cruise around with. And, of course, smoke the tires when he needs to. So a built small block Chevy will get the job done. So it's just a nice cruising engine. What, 400 horse, 350?
350.
Okay.
Yeah, put all the accessories on it and getting ready to fit it in the frame before I take the body off the frame and sandblast and powder coat.
Okay, so the transmission is just a Turbo 400.
Turbo 400, just plain and simple. And
Gonna have shift kit in it?
oh yeah, that's the plan.
Squeaky tires.
Yep. I want it to move a little bit, but not too much. Just gonna be one of those nice drivers.
Yeah. Gear Vendor's overdrive fit really nice on the back.
I know.
Bolts right on. And modern accessories will allow him to run power steering and air conditioning with no problem. Oh, what is this? Okay, this is all the stuff. This is the good stuff.
This is the stuff that's
Okay, tell me how you've got it laid out here.
got full front and rear air ride suspension for it.
Yeah. Steering column.
Steering column, triangular 4-link rear, steering wheel, brake boosters.
Chaz, of course, would like to go faster. So what do you think of this? I mean, this is completely different than anything I've seen that you've got.
He really likes the tuner cars, but as long as it goes fast, he doesn't care.
Yeah, but this is classic tuner, man. This is such a great shape. The only area that Roger's running into some issues is some of the rusty body panels. And this is an area where we can help. Of course, repairing the original rusty and damaged hood and fenders and grille is always possible. But if you can find new replacements, that can save a ton of time and money. So for this on the road, we persuaded the guys at LMC to give Roger a $1,500 credit so he can dig through the catalogs and find exactly the parts he needs to keep the project moving forward. And we had a lot of fun figuring out all kinds of ways to spend that money.
Several things. I need door handles, bumpers,
Yeah.
a grill.
Your bumpers look pretty good.
Yeah, they got that patina look.
Yeah, but you're going after full nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure a hood is going to be on that list. Of course, we're definitely looking forward to seeing what the final version of this truck's going to look like, and if Chaz or Roger is going to have the prime parking spot in the shop. So, when's it going to be finished? No, just when do you think? A year? 2 years?
No. 8 months.
So you are moving on this thing pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm getting ready. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, 8 months is cooking, man.
I'm collecting parts and, you know,
Yeah.
once I get all the parts and pieces, it's not that hard. I mean, there's nothing worse than going, oh, I need this, and you got to wait, something's back ordered, or.
Especially now.
Yeah, it's very difficult now. I've got parts that I've been waiting 6 weeks for.
Yeah. You know, over the last few years, one of the main catchphrases that's come along in the automotive world is the barn find. You know, this is the vehicle that's been out in a barn or in a garage or out in a field, just waiting for you to find it and do something with it. Now, the reason the barn find is so popular is that they're usually really cheap, and they represent that diamond in the rough, that buried treasure thing that automotive people just can't resist. Now, over the years, we've shown you what you can do with an old vehicle if you're willing to put the time and money into it. But what if you don't want to do that? What if you just want to drive it and enjoy it? What are the steps for that? Well, that's what we're going to show you today. How to get an old vehicle running and driving again without burning down the garage and without blowing something up. Come on. All right, today's subject is a 1941 Ford Coupe that we pulled out of a storage unit in Kentucky. Now, the story we got with this car is it's from Colorado, so it's virtually rust-free, and it was owned by a mechanic who hot-rodded it in the 70s and 80s. This is all good stuff. So the first thing you need to assess on a car like this is, does it have the potential to run? So we're going to get this hood off, show you what we're talking about. As you can see, it has a small block Chevy in it and a Muncie 4-speed, both of which supposedly came out of a late 60s Corvette. So this is good news. You can also see they put this thing in right with factory-style motor mounts in the front and good clearance around the alternator and the fan, and even the clutch is actuated by the factory pedal. So looks like somebody built this thing to run, didn't just hack it together. So that's all good stuff to know. So with that in mind, we're going to try to rotate this engine and see if it's free. Because if it is, there's a good chance this car became a non-runner because of neglect, not because somebody blew the motor up and threw a piston. So we're going to grab the fan belt and the fan, see if we can rotate this crank. And there it goes. There we go. Now, if your motor is locked up and you can't get it to rotate, it doesn't necessarily mean the motor's bad. It just is going to require different steps to get it unlocked and make it run, and we'll deal with those on a different show. But if you can get it to turn over like we did, there's a great chance you can make that engine run. It's going to take 4 basic steps to make that happen. Here they are. Step 1 is the fuel system. This means that you're going to need to drain the fuel tank and get rid of any old gas or sludge. You'll also need to replace any bad fuel lines or filters, and I suggest a see-through filter for this so you can see if the fuel pump is working when you turn the key. Now, for a basic startup like this, you usually don't need to rebuild a carburetor. Now, it's not going to run very well, but it usually runs well enough to start the motor. Then you can decide if you want to rebuild it or replace it. Now, step 2 is oil and filter. Now, this is something you should always replace, no matter how good it looks, because oil breaks down over time. Check this out. Somebody added a remote oil filter, which is a good sign, along with the aftermarket intake and carburetor, that this actually was owned by a hot rodder. Step 3 is the battery, plugs, and wires. Now, obviously, you're going to want to look all this stuff over. Any cables or wires that are broken or burnt or damaged obviously will need to be replaced. If they're intact, but they're just old, well, they'll probably be all right for an initial startup. Then obviously, plugs should always be cleaned or replaced. Step 4 is the cooling system. Now, obviously, you're going to want to drain the radiator and refill it with fresh coolant, but you're also going to want to check your upper and lower radiator hoses, your heater hoses, the water pump, the thermostat. Make sure they're all in good working order with no obvious leaks. All right, with these 4 steps completed, we're about ready to turn that key and see what we got. But before you turn that key, you need to make sure that the vehicle is in neutral so you don't accidentally drive through the wall. And you need to make sure you have some sort of fire extinguisher. Remember when I talked about burning the garage down? This is usually when it happens. Because remember, you're putting fuel and fire to an old vehicle. You have no idea what kind of leaks or shorts there might be in it. So, you need to be prepared. All right, let's turn the key. Hey, welcome back to Gearz and our first startup of this old 41 Ford Coupe that we pulled out of a barn. Now, as you can hear, we got the motor running after we went through the electrical system, the fuel system, the cooling system, and changed the oil. Now, it sounds pretty good. We got an exhaust leak, we got a miss here and there, but it's holding 50 pounds of oil pressure, so I think we got us a strong engine here. Now, once you get something like this running again, man, your first temptation is going to be to drive it down the road. But before you do that, man, you have got to step back and look some things over, or this could become a really bad day for you. The first thing to look at are the tires. As you can see, these tires are old and they're cracked and they're weather checked, so definitely not safe to run any kind of speed at all. But they should be fine to roll down the road 10, 15 miles an hour to check the transmission, the steering, and the brakes. The clutch and shifter are next, and the clutch feels good. And as you can see, I can easily shift from first to second to third to fourth in the transmission. But reverse is not engaging, so it probably just needs an adjustment in the shifter. But if I decide to drive this thing, we're going to be doing it without a reverse. So that's something to bear in mind. The final thing to look for are loose body panels, fenders, doors, seats, glass, anything. Remember, this is a barn find, so you have no idea what the previous owner was working on, and what they had unbolted or what they left loose. The missing floor panel is a prime example of that, as well as the fact that most of the trim and the taillights are in a box in the trunk. Once you've got it looked over, you're ready to take a test drive if that's what you want to do. Now, it's important to remember that what we've shown you today is not the end of the project. No, just the first step. And that step was to get it running and drivable, which it is, but it doesn't do either one safely or reliably. But based on what we know now, we know what to do with the carburation system and the exhaust and the tires and the brakes and all the rest of the stuff. And once that's done, we will have something that's safe and reliable, that is just a great hot rod and didn't cost a fortune. That is the magic of the barn find.
What are you working on? Brought to you by Woodward Fabrication, selling quality metalworking equipment since 1966.
Today's What Are You Working On comes from Greg Bemmett, and his project is a 1979 Datsun King Cab truck. Man, do you remember those? I don't know anybody that's working on one of those. That's awesome, man. Now, he says this started out as a retirement project, with the end result being something that he would give his grandson. Now, the plan is to have the grandson work on it while he's on summer vacation, so the two of them can work on the truck together. So, as you can see here, first thing they did was fix the rust in the cab and the fenders and the doors. They replaced all the gaskets, the cab body bushings, then they stripped and primed and painted the body with rattle cans, because that's all they had. Man, I love this. And they said then they stripped the interior out, they removed the dash, and they're repairing the cracks in the dash. And he said hopefully they're going to get to the bed, the suspension, the brakes, and all the hard lines and bushings before the grandson goes back to school. Yeah, you better. That's your work. That's your labor there. Now, he said his biggest obstacle, Greg's biggest obstacle, is going to be going through the motor and transmission, because he says, I'm not a motor guy. I just know the basics. That's the cool thing about these kind of projects. It's not just your grandson that's learning. Greg, you're going to learn, and you're going to be awesome at going through an engine once you get through this. So to recognize such a cool project, we hooked up with our buddies at Woodward Fab, and we're going to give you one of these tubing notchers, because you never know when you need to notch tubing. Also, we're going to give you one of our deluxe project planning books so you can keep track of everything you've done on that project. And we're going to give you one of our V8 Interceptor t-shirts. Then we're going to give you a gift card from Holly to help offset some of the cost of that project. And then you get a year subscription to one of the Hub magazines. Just choose the title that you like, and you get a year's subscription. Now, for the rest of you guys, if you want to get in on this, get your project featured on the show, man, you got to send it to us. Go to our website, go to Gearz Nation, and submit it into What Are You Working On? The website's also the place to find out more information on any products you may have seen on the show, any Gearz merchandise, and how to join Gearz Nation. Now, being a Gearz Nation member gives you access to our new app through Android and iOS, where you can watch all of our Gearz content commercial-free. Also, don't forget to check us out on Amazon Prime for Gearz and the Restoration series. Finally, don't forget to like us on Facebook and Instagram so you can get some behind-the-scenes footage on our weekly web series, Shifting Gears. And if you're a radio person, make sure you check out our new podcast, Tales of a Gearhead. All right, that wraps it up for us today, which means it's time for you to get out there and find your own project and start working on it. There's plenty of them out there. So get out there, start working on something. We'll see you next time.